All right, everybody, welcome back to the Amazing Conspiracy Realist channel. This is Beneath the Surface, episode 2, with Dom Tremblay of Verita ou Consequence. So thanks a lot, Dom, for coming on. Appreciate it.
Always a pleasure, bro.
All right. And so if anybody doesn't know, Dom, like I said, he started the website Verita ou Consequence. I hope I'm saying that right. French is definitely, I flunked French when I took it in college. So, the French teacher said I sounded too much like an Italian when I tried to speak French. I don't know what it was. There's so many different, that's why I commend him for what he does, because, one of the main things that Dom is doing is, he's trying to get natural law teachings out to a French speaking audience. So I would guess that's people, is it just people in Montreal, or is it people like in France also that you connect with?
Yes, I have contacts and viewers in France, Belgium, Luxembourg, some countries in Africa too, and there's also French Canadian too, in the West, in Ontario, Saskatchewan, Manitoba. So
nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And so it's such a rare thing. There's not a lot of bilingual people out there in general. And so it's just one of those other, it's like, you want to be able to hit on all cylinders. It's just like, being bilingual is like a great talent to have. But then if someone is not familiar with natural law, or, is still in the matrix of control, then it's like, they can't communicate that message to other people. So it's like, it's a really great service to truth, to be able to do that. But Dom also does podcasts in English as well, and he's interviewed some great people like Lawrence Wasson, Mario West, Mark Passio, so many others there's a lot of new people that he's interviewed that I have to look into more of their work. So yeah, I appreciate what he's doing. And so, yeah, he's also a big fan of punk rock like me. And so that's another rare thing, because, there's so many people in the punk rock scene who, they're just in it for the entertainment and for being like narcissistic, I guess. They're not really very connected to the idea of rebellion. Like I've been in bands with people who didn't even realize that punk rock and rebellion even went together at all. So, I actually, the guitar player in my old band, who's not going to watch this, and I wouldn't care what he thinks anyway. But yeah, he was just somebody who just felt like respect means obedience to authority, and it means obedience to the most dominant person in the room, obedience to the most physically strongest person in the room, obedience to the loudest person in the room. And so that's, it was really sad to see that. So, Dom, I'm just wondering, how did you get into just waking up? Like, what was the catalyst for your awakening? And, when did you, what age did you really start to question things?
Well, questioning things has been since my early teen years, but really figure it out, it was maybe 2 or 3 years ago when really I started studying deeply, Mark Passio's work. I've listened to all his videos, some of them multiple times. I estimate I have 800 hours of listening of his work. So, and this also led me to other, researchers like Larkin Rose, David Icke, Michael Tsarion. I've read also a lot of, books about the occult, the Anunnaki, the human origins. And how I was drawn into Mark Passio is because I was curious about Freemasonry and because I've been approached by Freemasons to join a lodge, and I was curious to see exactly what I was getting into. So I looked for good information about Freemasonry, and one of the best is Mark Passio. He talks about esoteric Freemasonry, so everything that is really the core of Freemasonry teachings, not what really necessarily what we see in the lodge system, but so yeah, so I really um, you know figure a lot of things out by listening to Mark Passio, and the most important thing is the root cause of all of our problems, you know, which is ignorance of natural law and how it operates in the universe. Because a lot of people, as you said, in the punk rock community or whatsoever, they are against the government, but they don't really know, why. Because they are fed up of paying taxes, or they are fed up of applying for licenses, this licenses that, but they don't really know why government exists and everything behind that, the what we call the deep state or whatsoever, the social engineers, which govern, the occulted portion of this realm. And so once I figured out that it's really ignorance of the laws of nature, uh, mostly the law of freedom, which is, as morality increase, freedom increase, and as morality decline, freedom decline. But it sounds like a really simple thing, but you know, it's really again something that you can figure out by observing just around you what's going on, and being honest with yourself,
Mm,
and so being able or willing to go there, because most people, they won't even look at this information, they won't even listen to Marpasio, because they are scared of what they're going to find out. And it's very scary to find out how deep in shit we are. but
mm,
but still, for me, it was the hell of a journey. And after 2.5 years of studying, during this last episode, or this last podcast, Mark Pastor was really hard on his listeners and
yeah.
pushing them to really, activate and get out there and speak truth no matter what. And
Hmm.
that's what I did. At some point, it was maybe at the end of July last year. We're in the middle of, this whole COVID, socially engineered perceived crisis. And then I decided, okay, that's it. I'm gonna do a podcast. It's I've never done that, but I'm gonna do it. And even though it's not good, even though I don't have a great, a big view base or whatsoever, I'm gonna still do it. Because, and after now it's like 6 8 months, and I've met so many awesome individuals. Now I'm part of the One Great Work Network. I've been,
Yeah. Mm,
and I've been in contact with so many great people who really are willing to make a difference, even though it's small. I'm not saying that, I'm gonna change the world. I'm not gonna. I don't want to change anybody, but at least if you after watching one of my video or one of my interview, you're curious about this subject, and you just open a book, I recommend, or view a video, I recommend, and then that's it. You're on the path.
mhm. Absolutely, yeah. And it's crazy that you started with Mark Passio, because most people don't get to him until way further in the journey. And then, people end up getting in the new age bullshit cul-de-sac, or the disclosure cul-de-sac, which is like, I've been there. See, it's like I've been researching the truth, and things like this, like occult topics, since I was in high school. The only thing is, you know, it's like as soon as I read a David Icke book and talked about how you create your own reality, that's when the movie The Secret came out, and then Oprah Winfrey's now talking about how we create our own reality. And me being the kind of young, like bleeding heart, like I was, there's nothing wrong with being empathetic, but I was just super empathetic, and I was still kind of connected to the Matrix, but like just learning new things about spirituality and kind of moving away from atheism and stuff, which was good. But then so then I would start to think, whoa, everybody's waking up, like all the, I even like, because I still like loved celebrities and like, our bands and just everything. So I just, when I'd hear people say something, any type of intelligence or what perceived intelligence that I would hear from anybody, I would just be like, sounds like David Icke, they must be waking up. And then it was just like, after a while, like I realized that I was getting further away. Like I would forget, like you forget about like the fact that the collective, and it's the people that are actually like, when you're in that state of being super empathetic towards like the collective and just feeling one with everybody and just wanting to love everybody, it's like it's hard because like you lose sight of looking at the being you stop being a social critic and you stop judging. And that's one of the things that they always talk about, like in our culture, like a lot of times is like, or not our culture, but like in subcultures, they always say like, it's not like, don't judge me, don't you dare judge me, fuck judgment. But then like discernment is important, like when you're trying to, that's how you get past the relativism, is like by having the discernment to be like, well, yeah, like I can judge, but I can judge in some cases because there is an objective difference between right and wrong behavior, like, you know, for a lot of the punk bands that I was into, like, there's like a lot of wild characters out there, like Jack Grisham and like G.G. Allen. And so you could easily just go like, well, they're punk and, they're into great music, so whatever they do is fine, and,
throwing shit at people's face.
Yeah. Yeah. If that's what you got to do to be punk, then yeah, go ahead, go for it. Do you find that that's like the mentality that you used to have, or people had, kind of had when you were like involved in the scene and stuff?
Well, one of the thing when I was, really involved in the scene is that I really hate people, and I see a lot of punk playing dress up and, being punk only in the weekend and dressed a certain way just only in the weekend. And that really was the thing that really annoyed me when I was, in the movement. But after that, I realized are far from the truth, and most of them are really falling for you said, moral relativism and all this satanic bullshit, uh, under the cover or of I'm against the government, I'm against all form of ruler, but it's not. And one of the thing also with Mark Passio's style is that is not for everyone. He
Mm-hmm.
says it. He said it outright. He says, my style is not for everyone, but that's the thing. Also, you have to focus on the message, not on the delivery style, because he can be really angry at times, and I fully understand why. But some people, they just can't listen. They prefer to listen to a news anchor who deliver a blissful lie,
Mm-hmm.
with a soft tone, instead of someone who's telling the hard truth, with a raging voice. So,
Yeah.
but again, that's bad for those people who just don't go past the messenger, and they miss the whole message. So
Yeah.
what can I say? I'm just thankful. I've listened to, but I fell really in love with his delivery style. From video one. So and that's one of the things also that motivated me to start my own podcast, is that we need as many types of voice and delivery style of for this message as possible.
Mhm.
even though so that's why I don't really give a shit if I'm not efficient, if I'm not, getting thousands and millions of views. At least I'm there. I'm a voice. I'm not also a Passio's minion. I'm not just repeating what he says. I have my own, perspective. I have my own delivery style. So
Yeah,
that's pretty much it. That's pretty much my goal with the channel, is just be myself, bring that information about natural law, truth, freedom, objective morality, uh, to as many people as possible in French and English. I don't care, it's just, and making good friends, making good connections with people. That's what it's all about.
nice, nice. And do you feel like the French audience is starting to like expand their like worldview and understanding of freedom? Like, I know that Mark in the past has criticized Europe and I guess other countries. I mean, it's not to be like what do you call it, like xenophobic or anything. It's just like, he feels that like maybe in Europe and Canada, the self-defense principle isn't as well understood as it is in the United States. So do you feel like more people in your audience are kind of getting, a better understanding of that idea?
Well, I wish, but the situation, of course, is very terrible in France, in Quebec. We have terrible dictators in those, my province and in France. So uh, terrible puppets of the, New World Order. So the situation is very still bad. Here in Quebec, we still have a curfew, 9:30. It's been, going on for a while now, and it's not probably not gonna stop um, during the summer. So it sucks really bad. But as far as people awakening, it's still, there's still a lot of work to do, and we're nowhere near, something encouraging. And that also was a part of the reason why I started my podcast, because I looked around and, I watched what was done by other podcaster in my province in France, and I was looking for French people trying to convey that message about natural law, because and all I was seeing is podcaster talking about, our masks were bad, our curfews, were terrible, our vaccines are terrible. Yeah, that's fine. And people, it's good. Okay, you can go protest. I'm not really that type of protester, because I don't think it's really the root cause of the problem. They
Yeah,
are just, if you go and protest, technically they are only protesting to have the prime minister or whatsoever president replaced by another one.
another,
So
yeah,
it's not at all a solution. It's only a band-aid on an open bleeding wound. So
well
that's one
said.
of the things I really want to convey, that message about, you gotta understand what is natural law, and you got to understand that's the only law that you should align your behaviors with, not government law. Because, aligning your behavior with government laws, look what it get us to,
Yeah,
more slavery, more less freedom. So it's getting more and more obvious, but still people, they don't see it, because have they don't go for the root cause. They don't
right.
go as, you know they don't go further in their research. They just think that replacing the prime minister with another one will solve the problem, which is absolutely ridiculous and ludicrous.
Well, yeah. And even with Donald Trump here in the United States, it was like, they want, there's a lot of attractive qualities to like a candidate or a politician that's like that, because he says he does say a lot of things, like he would be, he was questioning the whole COVID narrative, and he was acting as a champion for the people who didn't want to wear the mask and didn't want to But I mean, at the same time, it's like, even if you have that, like, even if we, if there's conservatives in office who don't really go for the mask mandates, it helps to feed the fire of the fake revolution, because now you get all the other side of that, who's just like, oh, she's like, no, he's not following the will of the people. This is what we want: more mandates. We want more. We want something done. It's part of that, problem, reaction, solution dynamic. So it's just like, when it comes to democracy, and I'm sure that's touted, that term is touted around all over, Canada, as it is in the United States. It's just, democracy is like, if the public are demanding the solution to the problem that the control system has created, then if they're just, it's crazy, because it's like people that play dress up, like you're saying, or like go to like a protest or whatever, or on the left or whatever it is. It's like they do have this, almost like, there is a revolutionary spirit there, but it's totally like being misdirected, like and towards people that are like actually care about real rights. And that's the thing, is just, this whole COVID thing has really highlighted how many people don't understand bodily autonomy. you know it's just like, they say that, like, it's your body, your decision when it comes to abortion, but then it's like, when it comes to you know vaccines made by a very corrupt medical industry that have metals in them, that everyone knows that, like, those metals, they dumb you down, and shut down your third eye. And it's just like, but people, it's just the things that people support, and the things that they say, you just know that they have the level, like, there's so many levels of their ignorance. Like, they must be ignorant about the third eye, they must be ignorant about holistic health. Like, there's just so many levels of ignorance. But yeah, well, that's I'm sorry to hear that, like, the situation is not getting better over there. I mean, 9:30 curfew is like, we have 11 o'clock, at least in New York, as our curfew. It's bad, but it's at least, like, they're trying to act like things are improving. um but yeah, so yeah, I was just gonna switch gears and just say, like, I think that the reason why so many people are not waking up is like doubt. I think that, like, doubt, and they say fear is the mind killer, but I think that it's also people who are just, they can actually take in what you're saying and, like, understand it at some level, but then they just go, like, I have a lot of friends who I talk to about you know natural law and bodily autonomy, and just whenever I say any statement objectively, like, whenever I just say, well, this is how it is because of natural rights and bodily autonomy, then just like, yeah, but I don't know, I mean, the other side's valid as well. Like, I always get this argument that, like, well, both sides are valid, and it's just like, I don't know. No, I think that I don't think that necessarily both sides are valid. I think that there's one group of people that is ignorance of natural law and violating other people's rights, and then there's one group that actually cares about it. So, but
Of
yeah,
course.
I mean, I just noticed that it's mainly this Darwinistic, like, misanthropic worldview that really, like, it's just like, even if you are able to break down that paradigm and show and disprove that paradigm to people, then they'll just go for, well, then I guess there's just nothing then. There has to, there's just nothing to consciousness, and there's nothing to existence. Like, without that paradigm, there must be nothing. I mean, do you do you feel like you run into that, like, worldview?
Nihilism.
Yeah.
Well, yes. Well, the thing is, there is such a thing as right and wrong. But of course, if you are into the moral relativism that has been, brainwashed into your brain by the school, by the media, by the Hollywood, all this bullshit. You grew up like me, and we all grew up in that, social, moral relativism. So there's no, I can decide what's wrong, I can decide what's right. It doesn't work like that. And the last, interview I had with my friend Will Keller was exactly about that. The not the existence, but God, and or this creative force that really sets or have decided, uh, at the beginning in the universe, what's wrong and what's right, and what is a wrong behavior and what is a right behavior, to all those who have the intellectual capacity to understand what's right and wrong. Again, doesn't apply to the animal kingdom. It's very important to say that, because a lot of people say, yeah, but the lion
Oh,
in
I
the
know.
jungle, it doesn't care about what's right and wrong. It just eat its prey, and it just fuck a lot of other lioness whatsoever.
And they
But
love it. They love. See, I am sure that you caught Mark's episode on what natural law is not. So it's just like, but people love it. They love what natural law is not. Like, they love that they can use the excuse. They could use nature. They could use the animal kingdom as an excuse for the like bad behavior of human beings. And I always hear, it's just people use the we word a lot. It's just like, instead of saying the government unjustly went to war with Iraq, they'll say we went to war with Iraq. So it's like, it's just like, who's we? That doesn't represent who I am, or what I want, for, I guess, my country. Like, I don't want that my country to be represented that way in the world, and I have no say on that. So and then it's just like, we're destroying the environment, we're destroying nature, when it's really it's like the corporations and the order followers within that. That's who's to blame. But then we revere the order followers. It's like,
that's right.
I just, what do you think about people who just feel that respect isn't about respecting natural law, it's about respecting people that are in the positions of power, or the positions of, a lot of times it's just like they want you to respect police and military for their sacrifice. And it's just so funny that they use the word sacrifice,
Or it's for your freedom, or to defend your freedom. But again, that's all part of the brainwash system that want to lead you to think that these people are there to serve and protect you or your interest. And when it's completely false. It's they're only serving the interest of the government, who signed their paycheck, and they don't care about any of the people that doesn't sign their paycheck. And I see, even in our province, that there's a lot of police officers that are trying to look good and trying to be, oh no, we're on your side and we don't want to apply such and such mandate from the government. But it's just powder to your face. It's just, it doesn't mean anything, because at this very core of it existence, a police officer is not questioning the morality of any of his action. Is not paid to question whether what is been ordered to do is right or wrong. He's just doing it. Same thing, for example, the soldier in Iraq. You just go kill these people, even though you don't know them, you don't know what they've done. Just because I told you so to kill them. So you are the one also carrying the most bad karma on your soul, by being the one who performed the bad behavior. And there's also a lot of that in Mark's teaching. Who's more morally culpable, the order giver or the order follower? And of course, both are morally culpable, but who's more, the one, of course, who carry the action on the field? uh, this without even having a spark of judgment, saying that's totally immoral what I'm been asked to do for a pity paycheck. So these people are the worst people on the planet, and they are the one also who bring with them the most uh, uh, the more the bad karma on the aggregate. So uh, what else can I say about these people? I just fucking can't stand it anymore. But again, that's one of the thing, people, they, since they don't know what's right and wrong objectively, so they don't know natural law, then they will think that it's right because the government, the constitution and all this fake um, institution is ordering people, and they think that it's legitimate, but it's all illegitimate. It's all immoral behaviors from everyone in the government, everyone in the police force, everyone in the military. So they are all immoral from their even own existence.
Yep.
So for their very own existence. So, and the the that's why it's very important to bring again that information to the people, so that and and that's what I when I looked, in July last year around, I I didn't see anybody in French really talking about these things. And since I started my podcast, there's a lot of people saying, "Oh, they sent me emails. Oh, I know not Mark Passio, but I'm glad that you brought up that in French and that you talk about these teachings and you talk about your own views about natural law, because they also felt that there was not much people talking about the core, uh, you know, of the underlying causes of our problem. Because we can talk about hours and hours about the effects. As I mentioned, the masks, vaccines, they are all effects. So you're never gonna solve a problem by just looking at the effects. You really have to look at the cause.
Right.
And again, that's one of the very fundamental hermetic principle, the law of cause and effect. But
Right.
people are stuck in the plane of effects. So how can you even see or solve a problem if you don't look at the cause, or you're you're too ignorant of these principle of these laws to really figure it out by yourself. So you're just gonna stuck in your own universe, your own worldview. You're not gonna look further because it's not comfortable.
Hmm.
Studying natural law is not a comfortable thing.
No.
It's not very fun, because you realize a lot of stuff that can make you suffer, that can make you very uncomfortable, that can also, uh, you know, break relationships. I've myself, I'm in the process of breaking up with my girlfriend because of my own experience and my own understanding of natural law, and how I don't want to be in a control or master slave relationship in my own couple. Same thing with my parents, who don't really encourage or are last week I got an email from my one of my aunt. Okay, I speak only maybe once every 2 years. She sent
Yeah.
me a message and she said, "I've watched two of your videos and you're wrong." That's it.
That's all she ever said.
Yeah. But that's one of the thing. I don't give a fuck about anybody who's doesn't like what I do, doesn't
Yeah.
understand what I do, doesn't understand the message, but it made me laugh. I had a
Yeah.
grin, and then okay, that's yeah,
How could
yeah,
you?
of
It's just
course,
yeah.
you're wrong.
I mean,
But
it's
you're
it,
wrong.
it's almost like
no argument, no counter
Yeah.
argument. But of course, most of these people, when you teach natural law, the only counter argument is you're a fucking idiot. That's it.
Yeah, I mean,
No
it's
real
amazing. They it's just like they can't take in new concepts, and then it's just like it's like they'll project their own ignorance onto you. Like they'll just be like, well, that's stupid, and no, like it's all about survival of the fittest. It's all about Darwinism, and it's just like I think that people are definitely caught in the realm of the effects, but I think that when it comes to the causal factors, I think that they think they know the causal factors in a lot of cases, or they will just, and what they'll do a lot of the time is endlessly speculate about what the causal factor could be. And they come up with a billion speculations. And then they'll, by that time, their brain is overloaded and they're just like, but it's not even worth even trying to figure out what the truth is, because there's so many different things that it could be that it's like not even, like, you'll never get to what it really is. And so that anyone that claims to have any objective knowledge about anything is again, it's like this satanic doubt creeps in, and it's just like, it's not even like they're even paying attention to the content of what you're saying. They're trying to do like a character profile on you, like instead of actually getting the message. It's just like, well, who is dumb Tremblay anyway? He's, what I get a lot of the
hippie.
time is like, how do you know that the people that you're involved with in the truth movement aren't shills? And I don't know. I feel like it's pretty easy to tell. Like, and it's not like a good habit to go in and go crazy and try to figure out like who's a shill, because I mean, there are researchers who talk about not Mark Passio, like, but there are researchers that I know who will name Michael Tessarian as a conspirator, although they'll name people that are in the movement as, oh, like they're an agent, you don't want to listen to them. But it's just like,
Controlled opposition.
yeah, but I don't, it's like, when it comes to shills, I feel like there is an easy way to tell, and that's if like, you know, they're just talking about like the different races of aliens. Like it's like there are guys who do like anthropological studies on like either it could be real or they could be fake, but they're like, there are guys who will just spend all their time just being like, well, some aliens are cats and some are giraffes and some are, they just go on and on and on. And so like, what do you think is a good way to spot a false teacher? you know
Well, that's a very good question. Um, well, one who's trying, well, of course, if he's trying to uh, talk in a way that, I don't know, like in a way that you want to reach a lot of people or you want to make a living out of it, it's still possible, but of course you don't want to put much effort without reaching a lot of people. And sometimes it's good to have donations, but I don't know. Usually these people, they, for me, it's a red flag. Um, but I don't know. It's all about a question of vibe and how the people looks authentic, and if this message really resonate with truth within yourself, or authenticity at least. Because you know I'm not saying that I have all the truth. I'm not. I'm just saying I want to have a good conversation with people, and because since I started this motherfucker, I've learned so much, and that's the real thing. It's fun yet to express yourself in a podcast, to talk, and to speak your truth. um, Speak the truth if possible, but you know it's all about connection, making connections. And if I feel that this person is there to learn, not just to express, and really listening to what you're saying, and there could be a healthy debate, then
yeah
then I'm in, and I'm gonna uh, listen to that person or listen to their videos. But again, we can talk, for example, about the flat earthers. I'm not a
Mm,
flat earthers, but I've mentioned in my last podcast, because for me it's really a curiosity of this world, these people. But again, as I mentioned in my last podcast, I can understand that they are willing to criticize, you know, everything, including the most common worldview or the most common scientifically acclaimed or scientifically proven fact that the Earth is a globe. But again, I salute them for just not taking and questioning, not taking for granted anything that's been, you know, approved by science or by millions and millions of people as being the truth.
yeah.
But by questioning, of course, NASA, they're full of shit. But it's not about really. I don't really. Who cares about what the shape of the Earth is really? But what I don't, what is very important is to question everything. Question everything. This is where you're going to be on the path to truth. And you're going to find some truth along the way. And then you're going to, put the pieces of the puzzle together. And you're going to, but first thing, of course, you got to be able to admit that you were wrong. And that's where we're
Yeah,
going to lose a lot of people,
that's the
because
thing
most of
is
the people are not willing to admit that they were wrong, because
right.
so they're not even gonna go there. So I'm
Mhm,
not talking to these people.
right. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, they'll take it as far as, we don't want the old ways. We don't want the traditional conservative ways or like organized religion. They could see through that. And then, you know, it's just like then everybody rushes to get like, so then it's just like they've left one paradigm and then exchanged it for another. But then it's like they stay in that because it's like the whole new world religion is just like socialism and Darwinism mixed with like politically correctness. And it's like on the surface, it like looks and feels like it like so I guess if people don't have any other understanding of the world, and maybe they did grow up in like a very extreme like religious household, and I've been there before, and so has Mark Passio. He talks about it like how it's like a breath of fresh air when you get into like the scientific worldview or like the scientism worldview. It's like becomes a breath of fresh air for people that have been stuck like in religion, but then they don't want to do anything to do with spirituality anymore at all. Like, so it's like you can't even have a conversation with them about it, because it's like as soon as you mention the word spirituality or consciousness or vibration, they're just like, hey buddy, I don't believe in ghosts or vampires or any of that. And you're just like,
Hippie
what?
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything to do with it. So a lot of people talk about new age bullshit as being the biggest, like one of the biggest mind control paradigms out there. But and I guess, what I've seen in New York is that like a lot of people are kind of conflating new age bullshit with, you know, I don't know how they're doing it, but it's just like, people might get into things like the tarot, but then it's like they relate that to they'll just relate that to the scientific paradigm in some way, and then like they'll see the beauty in that, but then it's almost like they're using the occult and esoteric arts in like a demonic way, because they're using it to like worship like their conception of nature, which is like that they're just another like animal, and that they're no different than the animals, and that so it becomes about like resisting all forms of pride in yourself, and so it's like people, it's just they like that Darwinistic thing because it takes them outside of themselves. And I think that's another thing when I said like what's a good sign of a false teacher is like, I think there's a lot of people out there in the alternative research community who are who, like you said, like they're always externalizing, and they never talk about shadow work. So like, you know, what is your conception of like shadow work, and you know, how far have you come, like a long way? I you don't have to go into detail, but like, do you feel like you've come a long way in your shadow work since you discovered Mark Passio and kind of started on the path?
Definitely. And that's what I was saying by, finding all these information and discovering the truth about a lot of stuff is painful, because it makes you realize that, same thing about punk rock that I love, when you go and you do your shadow work, you realize, okay, maybe I was wrong, or I did, it was good to listen to that kind of music, but you realize, like we say, for example, Bad Religion or all these bands, that they are not necessarily conveying the right message. So, of course, there's a lot of stuff that you love that is wrong, and you realize that every day, for example, I eat meat, and I still believe that vegan is the way to go to be a moral human being, because again, killing animals is not it's a natural law transgression, killing another sentient being. So it brings bad karma to the whole humanity. Carnism is a terrible thing for the karma of humanity, and it's one of the reasons why we're kept enslaved. One of the many reasons, but so same thing. I love sports car, So again, it's about
Who doesn't,
fossil
man?
fuel, fossil fuel burning. It's totally immoral. But again, since I joined the freedom natural law teacher community, I never pretended, or um, I never let myself into that. Who's the most anarchist? Are you the most anarchist? What are you doing? Do you have a garden? Do you have a garden in your backyard? Do you eat meat? Do you
Yeah,
drive fossil fuel cars, powered cars?
yeah.
So of course I'm not the perfect. So I'm not saying you guys are all immoral beings. You suck, and I'm good because no. All I'm saying is that I know that I'm an immoral being, and I'm trying my best, maybe not my best, but I'm trying at least to, one thing at a time, change my habits, change my life, so that I'm more and more each and every day in line with the truth, with natural law. And I'm trying to bring more people into that kind, with that knowledge, with that awareness, with that level of consciousness, because also the freedom is it's there's an individual component, but the major thing is the aggregate. You know, even though you're free and you're alone, we're still a social. We live in society, and
Oh,
even
I
you
hate
live
that. No, I
far in
don't. I'm just kidding.
you live far in the woods, you're still gonna have some kind of social interaction, and you're still gonna suffer from the aggregate being
Yeah.
immoral. So that's my message. I'm not saying that I'm perfect. I'm not saying that I'm the most anarchist guy in the world, but at least I know what it means. I know what it is, and I know when I'm performing a wrong action.
Mhm.
So just being aware of it really brings me maybe in a more favorable situations in terms of karma, in terms of my overall uh, save my soul new age bullshit thing. By knowing, by being aware that my what is right and what is wrong objectively.
Right. And that's the thing that's different about like what we're doing as compared to, like, I feel like in the new age community, there's probably a lot of bullshitters out there who do eat meat, or like, and I appreciate that you admitted that, because part of shadow work is being honest with yourself about where you're at. So, I appreciate you admitting that. And I'm going to admit one of my vices, because that's what this show is all about. It's like going beneath the surface. It's not about like, oh my God, I got the dirt on Dom now. I know he eats meat. But I was going to say, like, with new age bullshitters, they might be in a community where they want to kiss everybody's ass and like kind of, in order to like make friends, they might like, they would lie and say like, of course I'm vegan, like, or of course, I don't eat meat, and then like go, grab some McDonald's after and never tell anybody, like, there's no shame in admitting your flaws. I mean, part of the satanic New World Order is the idea that they want to create a society where there is no more human error, and there's no more human flaws. And we do have a more primitive side. I'm not saying that like, just because I'm anti-Darwinistic, that I don't know that we have a more primitive like side that's like, there's like a whole personality that I notice in me. I call it the alien, because there's the masculine, there's the feminine, and then there's the fucking alien. And then that guy, and the alien is it's what most people would consider the ape. But see, the thing is, when people go into like, we're just apes, it's just like, no, like that primitive side is a bit more cunning and a bit more, I guess he's just so about like satiation. He's like not like an ape. Like apes, it's like, it's more like a reptile. It's more like this cunning, like little vindictive, son of a bitch who's kind of smart. He's not like, he's not at the level of the animal kingdom. He is a little bit higher in intelligence, but he doesn't use that intelligence, or he might use his sophisticated brain to do something really like, this is where the serial killer things come in, because it's like these people are have these sophisticated, almost artistic, and I hate to use that word because that's a word I like to use in a positive light. But when someone doesn't have a real creative outlet and they're a psychopath, there are amazing and incredible things that like the human mind is capable of, and there's amazingly evil things that people can do. Like, I'm thinking of American Psycho, if you've ever seen that movie. Like,
Yeah.
It's just, that I think that's really what people, the primitive side of human beings is really more like, less like an ape, an orangutan. It's more like, fucking Christian Bale in American Psycho. Like, it's just like, I've cut off all my empathy towards other people. I just, if I just want to get off, it's like, it's almost like this a weird, because like the sexuality gets perverted and they just want to get off on something. And it's just like, and then moral relativism comes in, because it has to, because if I'm going to get off on doing something evil, I have to, because then there's the part of you, the super ego, that is connected to morality, and they shut that off. And I don't want to like, don't quote me on the super ego is 100% connected to morality, but it is, where you kind of, in psychological terms, they say you get your moral compass from. And so it's just like people shut out their, like, it's like they have the devil on one side, the angel on the other. But the devil's thing is so enticing. And that's the thing that, I think that the Christians and, some, fiction really nails when it comes to like evil, when it comes to like the devil per se, is that, yeah, like the things that they offer are like enticing to this primitive part of ourselves. It's like, like the bad food. It's like, I still, I try to eat healthy too. Like I eat meat and I don't, and I have the same exact perspective that you have on it, pretty much like what you said was dead on too. I think that it's really messed up, but then I have this part of me that disconnects from what I'm doing when I'm doing it. Like I just think of it, it's part of like the mind control of like the packaging on the actual food itself is just like, I really love this brand of food or beverage. So it's just like, it's like, I'm not even thinking, I'm just like, get up in the morning. It's like, I really want a Monster. It's like, you should, and then like, part of me is like, you should probably drink some tea. You should probably drink some kombucha. You should probably drink a smoothie. And then it's just like, yeah, but I'm gonna grab a Monster, and then so it's just like, oh, and then I hate my, and then like I drink it, and then it tastes really good, and then I get the jitters after it, and then I'm just like, why did I do that? And then it's like there's so many things that are like that, and it's because part of the internal monarchy is you manage these different parts of yourself, and you have to really want to change it. It's like, you know, like it takes so much willpower to change these things, and it can be so defeating. And that's why another thing is like you don't want to beat up on yourself too hard, like because like I used to beat up on myself. It's just like because and now we're really going to get beneath the surface, and I'm going to admit something that I almost don't want to admit, but I think I should. Like porn, like I have literally not like stopped doing the great work because I felt so guilty about watching it, because of the fact that I'm very torn about it, because it's like on one level it's like for me in my own mind it's just like I am admiring the beauty of a woman, like that's all it is for me. It's just like I'm just watching a woman do her thing, and it's like the most beautiful thing I've ever seen, and it's always the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It never gets old. And it's just like, and I grew up watching like and listening to Howard Stern, and they talked up porn like it was the greatest thing ever, and that there's nothing wrong with doing it, and that it's like part of our freedom and our rights is to engage in it and everything. But then I started to talk to and look at the work of people like Mario West, and it wasn't just the crazy Christian evangelists that are against porn. It's like people, especially women, that are deeply deeply spiritual, who are just like, they're not like so like I've even admitted to her that it's a problem that I have, and she wasn't like, you son of a bitch, you bastard, how dare you. She was just like, hey man, if that's what you got to do, that's what you got to do. But it's just like I think their over mentality on it is like it's kind of stupid. It's just silly. On one level it's silly, on another level it's evil, because one of the things about it that it's kind of like the carnism thing. It's like that all these animals are being slaughtered so that you can have this pleasure filled meal. But then it's like at the same time with this porn stuff, it's like I don't know. Even though that girl might be looking like she's having a good time in that video, I don't know what goes on. Like if she was an MK Ultra mind controlled person, if she was brought into this industry through human trafficking that our government does, are a lot of these women still slaves of people like Dick Cheney, like Kathy O'Brien, and like I really, I genuinely like, I could say to you, that I feel bad about it. But if my actions don't change, then it's just like, how much do I really care? And that's something that I've been struggling with for a long time. And I even I forgot. I don't want to get this wrong. I want to say the word foregone. I foregone doing the great work because I was just feeling so guilty. I'm just like, well, if I keep doing this, then I'm just a piece of shit like everyone else. Like I'm just like like I'm allowing human trafficking to continue if I do this. But at a certain point, it's just like, no, like I have a lot of knowledge. I've gotten to this point in my awakening, and I've done it the whole time. It's like I still need to get my work out there with all of my flaws, and just maybe someone can learn something too. And it's just like if someone is going through the same thing and they are like not putting stuff out there because they have this self-loathing about what they're doing with their habits, that's something that you shouldn't let it hold you back. It's just something that you should consider. Like, I mean, so a lot of these things that we're talking about, we're not like as bad as like the immoral order followers in the police and military just because we eat meat or watch porn, because we're not like doing immoral things. We're not like really contributing aggression upon other people. We're not raping other people. We're not stealing from other people. We're not trespassing on other people's property. Like those are the four main things that you do not have a right to do. So anything else is fair game as far as natural law is concerned. It just might not be the healthiest thing for you spiritually.
That's right. Of course, there are some level of transgression or level of, effects it's going to have, or bad karma it's going to generate depending on the level of the transgression. But to be back on the shadow work, that's shadow work you just did right there. I mean, a lot of people also, they think that shadow work is something that happens overnight. One day you wake up and then, oh, I figured it out. Shadow work is a lifetime experience. It's a journey, that but you have to start it. Some people, they never start it because they don't want, because it's, again, it's painful, it's tough. Again, it can be really uncomfortable, uh, and may also imply that you will need to seek help. You'll need to talk about it. You'll need to I'll have also conflicting information about it. But the thing is, it's a life journey of a lifetime. So at least it has to start somewhere. And the very beginning is knowing that you are wrong, knowing what is right and wrong. And
Hmm.
then, from there, you can assess where are your flaws, where are your strength, and you capitalize on the strength and you work on the flaws. But one by one, you cannot change overnight. You cannot change someone else. So but you can change yourself. But
Yeah.
can take years and years and years. Maybe you're not gonna do it, but at least I can say that I'm working on them, and I'm working from a strong base by knowing what is right and wrong.
Right. And I think, one of the things that kind of forces you to keep, because like the shadow work never ends and it keeps moving and you keep getting into uncomfortable situations because you haven't done it. So it's like, you know, I've had friends who, are just like, hey, Brian, you try to come off like you're all spiritual and stuff, but I saw you eating some Five Guys the other day. I saw you, you're not always eating the most healthy. You're not. I mean, you do eat healthy foods pretty often, but like, I see your habits. I see that, you know, um, in a lot of ways, like you're not that much different from other people. Like, I don't know what they're expecting me to be, like just some like, you know, super like, just like Zen like monk that's just like I never, I never indulge in any worldly like pleasures. Like,
The
so when
perfect
people see that,
anarchist.
they're like, it could come off as like, well, you're not really true. And so it can actually, if someone sees that your lifestyle is not 100% congruent with what you say, then there might be some valid reason for them not to really buy into what you're saying or believe you, because they'll just, a lot of times people are like, well, they don't understand the concept of shadow work. So it's just like, well, someone that doesn't understand the concept of shadow work would hear us talk and say, well, these guys, they're not really true to what they talk about because they have all these habits. They have some of these habits and vices, and everything. But when you don't understand that, they'll just think, well, oh, they're just hypocrites. But those people are the scariest people of all, because it's just like, and yeah, and you're a hypocrite too. And so it's just like, just because, you know, you don't always, just because you're not perfect doesn't mean that you can't say something that's objectively true.
That's
Because
it.
ultimately the truth is outside of who you are as a person. And so if you know it and you communicate it, it doesn't necessarily mean that you yourself are 100% perfect on it.
And it's not because I'm not living 100% in alignment with natural law that I cannot teach other people who don't have a clue of what it is, and are far brainwashed into that the status and bullshit. You know, I Because if I would have never done any podcast if I say, okay, I had to be perfect in alignment with. But since then, I've met people who are way more in alignment with natural law with me. My good friends, at Natural Freedom League, Mark
Yep.
Passio, all these people I'm still connecting with these people, and I'm not like, or I don't feel like I'm inferior to them, because I'm not exactly living in alignment as much as them with natural law, but still, I have something to say, and I think it can help people, can help humanity, at a very small level, but still, if it's a grain of salt, that's a grain of salt,
Yeah.
but that's still more than nothing, and by doing this, I'm working on myself, I'm working on improving myself, and by being connecting with these people who are very, very strong anarchists, very true anarchists, it's just pushed me harder, and to work harder on myself, to work harder on my content. And that's what it is, that's the human experience,
Mm,
is acknowledging who you are and working on your flaws. But you never be perfect. There's perfection is not of this world.
right.
It's maybe God, but even I don't know. This one I'll leave
No, I
for
don't even
maybe
think.
another.
Yeah, yeah. That's
But
a really good
perfection is
existential
not
link.
of this world. Well, maybe God, the creative force, because He's all. So by being all, you can be either perfect or imperfect. But that's another story.
Yeah, I think that like the allness that is God is not a perfect being. It's something that's learning more about itself, and so it's doing the shadow work by you know just the fact that there are, and I'm get really existential now, but the fact that there's this force, um you could call it God, you could call it whatever you want, but it's an expanding force that's learning more about itself, and so it's doing the shadow work, and within that shadow work are the evil Anunnaki and evil reptilians. That's all a part of the personality. Like it's like, so it's even on a little or smaller level, a fractal level, it's happening within me when I have, my, you know, issues and struggles. It's almost like you could think of it as an alien, or you could think of it as like an out of control kid in that's inside of you too. It's just like there's like you could look at it like the masculine, feminine, give birth to the male child, which I get the male child thing, but I like to just say child. I don't know. I guess it could be, I don't know. But see, I think it could go either way. It doesn't have to be male. But anyway, but that's considered wrong by a lot of people. Anyway, I digress. But like, you do have the masculine, feminine. You have a motherly force within you, and you have a fatherly force within you, and then you have the out of control kid. And so, but most people like and there's like this love affair that you have with that part of yourself that most people take to an extreme, and it feels like freedom. It's like a simulation of freedom, but it's really just reckless abandon, you know. And so it's like the great thing about the fact that there are natural law teachers that are there is that it's almost like it's a nice balance, because you don't have to be like beating yourself up for like, I was so immoral. I was going to punk rock shows, and I was just having sex with these girls who were dressed in, they had fishnets, and I was doing all these horrible things. I was smoking pot. You don't have to turn into like this religious kook, but at the same time, because that you do get this level of spirituality that's authentic. That's actually, it's what they're doing. People like Mark Passio and others is like they're resurrecting what religion tried to destroy thousands of years ago. And so we're finally getting that like refreshing like refreshment of just that true spirituality and morality. Like it's no longer, it's clear. So now it's just like a lot of the things that I learned being a punk rocker or whatever actually did tie in well with the natural law thing, because a lot of the stuff, a lot of the concepts with natural law, like the law of freedom and the law and self-defense and other things like that. I just thought like everybody that cared about freedom or a rebellion really understood that, especially when I was younger, like when I was in high school and stuff. I wanted to project good things onto the punk rock scene, because I knew my parents were concerned that there was a lot of bad people who were going to, influence me negatively. And I was always against that idea. I didn't like the idea that there were people out there that saying like, oh, rock music is dangerous and it's a bad influence on kids. But now I see the point, like, because you have a lot of bands out there, they're Masons, they're dark Masons, or like they might be working for a record company or have a producer that's clearly a dark Mason, because especially with the newer punk stuff that's coming out, like that's like, and not a lot of people like it. I like the way it sounds, but it's weird, because these punk rappers like Machine Gun Kelly and like Trippie Redd and all these guys, they are like, well, the lyrics are very misanthropic and depressing, but I just noticed that checkerboard stuff is everywhere. That Freemasonic checkerboard is in all the videos, it's just everywhere. And it's just like, even this girl showed me a video of Cardi B, and she literally takes a sheet. She takes like a bed sheet that is a pure black and white checkered bed sheet, and some dude walks into the room who's like her servant. He's like her butler, and she throws the sheet on his head. And I'm just like, I know exactly what that means. She's saying she's in a position of authority. He's lower. He's on the board. He's being played, and so
Yeah,
it's just,
that's
I
one of the
forget where I
thing.
was going with that.
Well, that's one of the thing with symbolism and symbols. That most people they don't know. So it can be blatantly in front of their eyes. The six
Oh
six
my God.
six and everything, and it can look cool and everything, but they don't understand that behind that there is a plan, there is a structure to brainwash the people into thinking that that's the way to live. That's moral relativism, Satanism, all its tenets. It's okay, and that's the way to be. So, and it's all part of the big plan. But that's it. We gotta be there, and that that's why I don't talk much about these mandates or vaccines or everything. I really want to go to the root cause of the problem, because
Right.
it's never gonna. It's always gonna be the Groundhog Day. Story is always gonna repeat itself if we don't
Mhm.
break the cycle and learn the true learn your own personal true nature and how the universe operates is through its laws, and
Yeah.
not, of course, these man's laws or constitution or government bullshit, media,
Right.
all this crap. At least a lot of more and more people are waking up to it, and more people are because the lie is so big now that it's even the 60, 70-year olds sometimes. I see on forums that old folks that have been brainwashed all their life, they start to realize that there's really something wrong with this government, and it's been like that all their lives, but now they can maybe see through, because it's going really like so big, so blatant, that now people are waking up more and more to it, but there's still a lot of work to do. And so that's why it's cool. I really appreciate your podcast, and everyone and every new person who joins the network. It's so cool. We need so many more people, so many more voices for the truth, and just bring that information to the people, so that we can maybe one day outgrow the lies and deception.
Yep. And the surrogate nanny state, and that's what all the government really is. It's just, people wanting, it's like, instead of wanting the big father, the big daddy in the sky, it's like, and that's what Marxism was all about too. It's just replacing that concept of God with the state. But I think that religion was, you know, the God as the state was the code within religion, organized religion, the whole time. So, that's my overall take on it.
That's why the new
Um,
religion, statism.
yeah, I mean, I'm not sure how much more time you got, but I did have a couple more things I wanted to go over. Are you good on time? I mean, can we go a little bit longer or?
Sure, sure.
All right. Um, so I wanted to shift gears and like, cause I don't have children and, but I know you mentioned that you have a daughter, right?
Right.
You're comfortable admitting that on air, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay.
Like my
Well,
pastor said, use your own fucking name.
yeah,
I'm,
yeah,
I'm
yeah.
not gonna lie about my thing, and I put my own name, and I talk about my own life experience. Of course, like everyone goes public, I want to keep something in private, but yeah, of course, I have a daughter, and my got my real name, and you know, so yes. What was
Yeah.
the
Well, I was just gonna say that like it must be. Does this information like weigh on you? Would you say even harder because of the fact that it's her that's going to be growing up in what's being created and stuff? So, I mean, is that like your driving force? Would you say behind a lot of what you do here?
most definitely? I would say like 75% of me doing all this, speaking publicly, activating myself. I got kicked in the butt by Mark Passio, but the real reason why I started doing this is because, I really want to say to my daughter, when shit really will hit the fan, that I did something, and watch my videos when she's going to be in an age to understand, and watch all the videos I made with her, and maybe study that, as a, uh, and then saying, daddy did something. At least I don't know if it had a huge impact, but at least I did something, and yeah, and of course the future. I worry more about the future that now that I have her in my life,
Mm-hmm.
because I'm not afraid to die, um, uh, um, and I'm not afraid to die for my cause
Yeah.
as well. But now that she's in my life, it puts things into perspective, and probably I'll think twice, but I'll never think twice, and I'll never live as a slave, uh, to just to be with her. But of course, the fact that she's in my life has been a huge influence, and is still about speaking publicly, and being out there and wanting to change the world, even though I know I have very small influence. I still believe in the butterfly effect. I still believe that my little thing can have, and I saw already a lot of, not to brag about it, but I saw a lot of people that have activated themselves. Like even our friend Bobby Cirillo, who were
Yeah.
he said, you lit my ass on fire, and
That's
that's one
awesome.
of the thing, and that's one of the thing with my character also, is that, or my persona as a podcaster, is that I'm making it accessible, so that someone can say, oh, Dominic is doing it, and is making connection, and is it looks like he's having fun. Oh, I'm gonna do it too, you
Yeah.
know so the accessibility, so it's accessible to anyone. If Dominic can do it, you know anybody can do it. So that's one of the thing, and I'm fine. I'm not going to be insulted because you're saying that I'm a low baller or whatever. I don't give a flying fuck actually about what people think, but of my content, of my thing. But again, I'm doing this so that my daughter can have a better future, and that she can say that I did something.
Yeah. And I mean, she's already in a great position, just because her father is awake, and it's like there's a lot of because with a lot of the girls that I meet, I get really depressed over the fact that they have terrible fathers who have programmed them horribly into believing into it's like they put pressure on them to be with the type of man that society considers to be the most like authentically masculine, which is not really the authentic masculine man. It's like, the immoral order followers. It's like, I don't know of a woman in my life who doesn't know and care for somebody that was involved in the military. And I'm horrified by that fact. And I'm horrified by the fact that I like whenever I even criticize the military, there's always just like, well, we need to have compassion for them. We need to, and then like I always get shit for, oh, you don't have compassion for their families. Like, what if somebody died in the line of duty? How come you don't have compassion for their families? And it's just like, on one level, I of course like, put myself in their shoes. Their son or daughter, died in the line of fire. Like, that's horrible. Obviously, they must feel like shit. But if they raised that son or daughter if they were in the military themselves and said, you're going to do it, it's good for your discipline, it's good so that you learn respect, which is not real respect, but it's respect for and obedience to authority, like a dog. So it's like, that's, to me, it's a form of and it'll never, and I don't want to say never, but it'll almost never be looked at as a form of child abuse when it's so blatantly like, this whole I'm gonna toughen you up stuff. Like, it's just like, it's disgusting. And it's just, and it breaks my heart, just to see that there are so many like women and girls in the world who are just, they're cold and like hardened shells. Like, I mean, they look like so beautiful and free on the outside, but if you actually talk to them and have a conversation with them, especially a conversation that's beneath the surface, they're very hardened, and they'll get like suspicious of and like, ooh, like choked up about. It's like the more free and balanced like a man or a woman is, the more they're just like, ugh, I don't like that. Like, I don't know if I want to associate with that type of person. And so, if you have what we need, actually, one of the things that you're doing aside from just the podcast is that, in my opinion, is that you're a conscious parent, and like we need more of that, because that's part of the reason why we're in this situation, is because we don't have conscious parents. Like, even my parents, like, they care about me, and my well-being, but they've said to me before that, like, when I'm talking about like some of the things that go on in the world, or when they're kind of in a bad, not a bad mood, but when they just don't feel like hearing about it, they'll just get into this like, yeah, and how does it affect your life? And it's just like, it's just like, who are you? It's just like, I get, and I don't doubt that their care for me and the immediate family is real, but it's just like, you know they it's just hard because they're so glued to the system, and they almost want to instruct me and teach me that like there are some benefits. You could get some freebies, from conforming, and like, of course they believe the lie that all taxes build roads, and of course income tax doesn't even if you want to make that argument, like, income tax doesn't help to build any sort of infrastructure. No one even knows where that money goes. But so yeah, I mean, I just think that it's great that you're a conscious parent, and you know, so I
just
mean,
on just on that, my good friend Will from Natural Freedom League is gonna have on the Seed 4 conference that coming on May 15. He's gonna do a presentation entitled Conscious Being for Conscious Parenting for Conscious Being. We did a two-part podcast series, but he's going to do a full-length presentation at Seed Force. So everyone who's interested on that conscious parenting topic, he's going to do a presentation, and I had a few sneak peeks, and it's gonna be fantastic. And to complete also on the issue with the daddy issues, or one of the thing I've learned, over now I'm 42. That's one of the thing also I'm not afraid to share. But my experience with women is that now if I now I'm single, but if I would go on a date, one of the first question you ask the woman is talk to me about your father, and then see her reaction, see her answers. If her eyes get real bright and she talks about her father like he's a superhero, there's a good chance that it's gonna be a healthy. Again, it's not 100%, of course, but and if she doesn't want to talk about his father or she say bad things about him, then there's gonna be a good chance that this woman's gonna be fucked up in her mind. And I talk by experience. From a past experience, I've learned personally with numerous,
Yeah.
few women. So it's not 100%, but the relationship daughter and father really tells a lot. So it's really something that you should ask on a date, not the zodiac sign, what she does for a living, uh, none of that shit. Really, one of the first question, what's your name? Tell me about your father, and then you're gonna have right away the red flags or the green light for get go.
And all you have to do is, like, if she, and even if she says good things about him and she's just like, well, yeah, he was a great person and he served our country, that immediately, like, because I've known women who, like, they'll tell me about their father and how he was in the Air Force, and it's like they don't have bad things to say about him, they don't have great things to say about him. There's not a lot of information about him, but then you find out the more you get to know them. Like, because I thought this one girl, who I knew, that I thought, like, maybe because she dealt with some, like, domestic violence, and I I put myself in her father's shoes, and I just, like, said, like, well, hopefully he's a compassionate, like, caring father, and, like, really, like, wants to help his daughter, like, work through this situation. But then, I come to find out months later that, there were times where he was, like, violent towards her and stuff like that. And she like compartmentalizes it in her mind. So she's just like, one day she'll just remember, oh yeah, there was that time, and it's just like, holy crap. Um,
It's
so yeah,
like
and we're getting
there's a
into real deep stuff here,
yeah,
but
but there's a lot of
yeah,
chance if her father is an order follower, police officer, or military, there's a very good chance that this person is stuck in a left brain imbalance. So it's all about domination. It's all about control. Not all about, but it's mainly about because it's predominance, right? It doesn't
yeah,
use only one side of the brain, but there and there again there's levels to it, but still it's a very good indication that this person might be more on feel less empathy, be more on yeah, the domination and control uh, behaviors. So again, it's not all police officers and military personnel that is a wife beater, but
but
again, there's a more there's way more chance of that behaviors being expressed than any maybe other line of work
right. And I
because
think what
of the
happens, oh yeah, and I was just gonna say that I think that what we were talking about before with why people have such a misanthropic view towards human nature is because they don't understand that there are left and right brain imbalances. So it's like, when you have a situation where someone's parent, like, their father was abusive physically, and their mom was like an emotional wreck who just, like, did heroin all day, you're dealing with right there a a left brain imbalance and a right brain imbalance. And so, but someone who has no understanding of, like, psychology or consciousness in that way is just going to say, well, if you say anything good about human nature, then you're ignorant, because I grew up with these people who, you know, to them, that left brain imbalance, there is nothing, there is no masculinity other than toxic masculinity. There is no femininity other than toxic femininity, or there's no such thing. Like, I've even met people who don't even have any understanding of what femininity is at all. Like, I've heard, like, they understand toxic masculinity and they talk about it all the time. But when you even mention the word femininity, they're like, what the hell are you talking about? Are you talking about feminism? I don't know what you're talking about. I have no conception of what that is. And that is horrifying too. But so people's, whole thing is just like, of course it's survival of the fittest. Of course the Darwinists are right, because look at the behavior of human beings. But then that cause is not our nature itself. It's the imbalance to the left or right brain hemisphere. And so, that's, I think if people just would understand that, that would be, a step in the right direction.
Of course, how their brain works, and that's a huge part also of Mark's teaching. Each and every of his lengthy presentations, there are always part where he's talking about the part of the brain and how it works. The reptilian brain, the mammalian brain, the neocortex, and all these operates, and how an imbalance can affect the behavior of someone. But again, this imbalance is constantly, it's constant. It's not always one side on the other. One day you can be more right brain, you feel more artistic, feel more emotional. The other day you're going to be more, so it's always the balance
It's a
is a
seesaw, but
constant
yeah.
work. It's a constant work. And one of the thing also that with making podcasts to help me personally balance my brain, because I was more very uh, um, uh, conservative or whatsoever, and I really learned to express my creativity, and I didn't think I had, by
Yeah.
starting this. So, and it really helped, balancing my hemispheres and being more in touch with my emotions, being more in touch with my creative side.
Yeah.
Something that you're not really uh, that education doesn't really
No.
is pushed towards for guys. Actually, it's more women. But again, it's you really have to teach your kid to balance both. It's okay to be both, to be a little bit, sometimes feminine, and to be in touch with your emotions. There's nothing wrong with it. But if it's always, or if you're always driven by your emotion, or driven by your creativity, then it's not going to be good also, because it's still an imbalance on both sides. So it's always but again, being aware of it is the first step. And that's
Yeah.
what really most people lack,
Right.
because they don't want to go there into that new age stuff. But again, you mentioned the new age bullshit, but it's not all new age that is bullshit, because there's good stuff in the new age movement. And that's why also the dark occult infiltrate these movements. Same thing with the Freemasons. There's good stuff, and there's a very good core. And Mark Passio is, a lot of people who are natural teachers identify themselves with esoteric Freemasons,
Yeah.
like myself, member of the big lodge of the universe. Not,
Yeah. I love that idea. It's so great.
yes, because it's the same thing. Then can you be a Christian without being a member of a church? Of course you can.
Yeah.
Do you have to? It's not because I'm not part of a lodge system that I'm not a Freemason, and it's not because I identify myself as a Freemason that I'm a dark Freemason. And so again, these movements have been infiltrated, and they gave these, you know, these infiltration, or these bad seeds that have been, uh, sowed into these movements, have really, uh, been terrible for the reputation of the movement. And since people cannot really make the difference between right and wrong, then they go head first into these movement without being able to, you know, differentiate the bad weed from the good weed.
I like that. What I was going to ask you about, like the lodge system, because I don't really, I mean, I know about esoteric Freemasonry. My basic, see, the thing is, if I were to meet someone who is a part of a Freemasonic lodge or whatever, like the average person, I would say to them, he's in Freemasonry about like Hiram Abiff, and he starts out on the board and then he climbs the ladder and he, gains more knowledge as he goes up the ladder. What's amazing to me is like a lot of the people you guys have said in the lodge system, they really don't have any understanding of like, they wouldn't like analyze the tracing board and stuff like that. They wouldn't like look at the pillars of Yakin and Boaz and see that that's masculine and femininity. If they don't understand these basic things about Freemasonry, what are they doing? What are they doing there? It's what I don't understand.
Well, a lot of people, they are looking for acceptance in a group. Um, uh, the Freemasons I know are very, very good people, and probably they are not really aware, what they are serving, and they have good intentions by joining these groups. And at lower levels, like the first 3 degrees, you are not told anything, but just the basic stuff and basic initiation, uh, and it's only like a pool of person where they can pick, those who they see fit for the higher levels, for the more satanic levels. But
Mhm.
the big pool of first 3 degrees, which maybe is 90 something percent of the whole Freemasons, are good people, doing like the Columbus Knights of Columbus. They are
Yeah.
doing volunteer work. They are doing good things for the community, and
Yep.
they
Soup
have
kitchens. I know a
genuine.
Freemason who was doing soup kitchens and stuff.
That's right. They have genuine intentions, but the thing is that these people are just, and it's okay. It's all good if you stay like that. But uh, maybe someday you're gonna be picked to. Do you want to join, a red lodge, or do you want to go into higher degrees? And that person will not have chosen you like out of the blue, like just because you're cool or you're nice and you're knowledgeable or whatsoever. Is because you will see the satanic um,
Mindset.
mindset, or you will see the potential for higher satanic degrees
Yeah.
in you. So again, 90% of the Freemasons are cool. So that's really a thing when I see, on Facebook, or any social media, people
It's the
already
Masons.
Freemasons, always the Freemasons. It's partly right, but it's not all them.
Yeah.
There's all kinds of organizations. There's all kinds of, and it doesn't matter really who's in the pool of people. There's regular people who are still used for, it's not all presidents of the United States that were Freemasons. So doesn't really matter which
Yeah.
where the puppet come from, as long as they see the potential in
Hmm.
this. It can be skull and bone, can be whatsoever,
And it
occult
could be regular
society.
things in society too, like in music. They'll
That's
seek
right.
out bands like,
That's right. That's
yeah.
right. So it's the
So
same.
it's
It's not that, I'm pretty sure that who's the bitch you mentioned, Cardi B. She's not Freemason, but she's still a puppet for probably a satanic organization, whether it's Freemason or whatsoever
right.
other. But still, it's really
Well, see, yeah,
important
this whole thing
people
with
knows
masonry,
that.
it creates obfuscation because it's like you have someone like see, you have all the 90% that you were just talking about, and so you might get like an article, a Newsweek that says, "Oh, hey, Cardi B is a Mason," and then someone who's a fan of Cardi B will be like, "Ooh, what's that about?" And then they might meet a local Freemason who is a good person, who's doing all these great things for charity, and they'll be like, "Whoa." well, go Cardi B, not knowing that she may be in like one of these higher satanic lodges or whatever, and it's just and so it creates obfuscation. And then on the other hand, um, there are conspiracy noobs, I'll call them, who they heard that it's just the Masons, so they might meet the fella down the street and be like, you're a you're one of these Illuminati guys, right? You're one of the guys that they think is controlling the world. And then that guy in his ignorance will say, oh, people say that, but you can't believe conspiracy theorists. We're actually a really great group and we do all these charitable things. And so it's like, it's such a mind fuck, because I remember I was in a band with a guy who was a Freemason, and he was kind of insulted just the fact that I was had these conspiratorial views, because he was just like, you're not in the organization, you don't know what really goes on there. And then I had to be like, no, but wait, I get that at the lower levels it's not so bad, but and it was just, people don't give you enough time to get your thoughts out, and then before they jump to conclusions. So it's like he never really I don't know if he ever really got over the fact that, like, he thought that because he was involved in the Masons, that I thought he was in the Illuminati. Like, I didn't think that, but he projected that onto me because I was a conspiracy person. And this is where some of the hatred of the alternative movement comes from, because you have people that are like in these movements who they don't do anything conspiratorial or messed up. Like, even feminists, not a lot of them. I mean, even feminists to a certain degree, the ones I've met are just like, what the fuck, man? Like, I'm just trying to like help women, like I'm trying to like, raise money for like battered women's shelters. So like, why are you hating on feminism, man? And it's just like, and just, it's one of those things. It's kind of like, it's such a heart curdling thing. It's just, it brings a lot of emotional torment, because it's just like, almost like I want to be friends with these people. I want to, like, it's almost like I want to be a part of the positive aspects of their world. Like, I even went to like a feminist rally with this girl that had a lot of that I cared about because of the things that she dealt with in the past. But and I also went as like an anthropological like study for myself, just to see what it was like. And it was just, I was crying during it because, and of course they thought I was like tearing up because I was so moved, but I was actually tearing up because I was just like, there are some really genuine people here, and there are women that have been like through some shit. And but then, but I could also see where the fakes, there was a lot of fake people there. There was a lot of people there that I could just tell were just, really hyping like, the political agenda of the left and stuff. That's not like, that's going to bring about a more centralized world government and stuff. So it's just like, it's just like, that's part of the control system too. Is it's like they set things up that look nice, and then on the lower levels are really nice. And so if you don't like that thing, then you're become an asshole, and not really, but it's just like, that's really tough,
obfuscation of
man.
things. Yeah, of course they make it really hard to confusing to know if it's good or not, or right or wrong. So that that's part of all learning about all this, and again, being back to nature, being back to natural law, so that your moral compass and you are able to judge from a bigger picture instead of just judging one person or one event. But you're able to, you know, sit back and watch from a broader perspective, this thing or event or group of people, and judge them maybe more accurately,
Yeah,
uh,
exactly. Which is
based on.
scary. It's horrifying to do that, but that's part of it, man. Like you see how the pawns are being played on the board, and sometimes it breaks your heart. But then, that's where the psychological warfare comes in. It's just like, well, it sucks for them, but I know that I can't, you know, be at one of these guys who's at all the charitable events. And it's just like, people give me shit because it's just like you're not doing anything to help with the community. And I should be actually, to help the community, you could start up like meetup groups and stuff. In my area, it's like, I don't know how that would really work out. But anyway, I digress. It's just like
No, no,
one of
you don't.
these,
Because the best thing you can do to help your community is help yourself.
yeah,
And most people, they are blindly, into the community work, into the stuff, but they forget all about themselves.
good
So
point.
at the end of the day, they are still wrong.
Yeah.
Even though they have good intentions, they have good, goals, but
Yeah.
they are doing it wrong
Right.
because they don't really get the core of things,
Yep.
and
And
how it operates, how the world works.
yeah,
World
and that's when it
works.
turns ugly, because it goes from like compassion um, for people that have suffered into, well, now we're going to blame the people that caused it, and then but those people aren't the ones that caused it. So they'll, like feminists who like it's men. Every man is a potential rapist. It's like, actually no. There's statistics that show that there's specific groups and personality types that are like that, and these are the guys that you need to watch out for. And but then it's just like when they're suspicious of everybody, it's just like you could, when you're suspicious of, when you can like when you see only when you only look for the evil in good people, you'll end up seeing the good and evil people. And that's what I see happening a lot out there. And yeah, so, but I think that's where we could leave it for now. I mean, there's so much to talk about, there's so much to go into, but I think we got a solid bite on it. Was there anything more that you wanted to bring up?
No, it's been a pleasure, man, and we can do another one anytime. It's always good fun, and I always like to express myself and discuss with good friends like you, man.
Yeah, you too, man. It's been great, and it's I concur, and we need to all, it's just like everybody that's on the One Great Network, and even people that are on the outskirts of it. It's just like we're a community. We're really forming a community within ourselves. Like we have mutual friends, and like Will Keller, who graciously like did my logo for Amazing Conspiracy Realist Network. He did a great job on that. And John and Will are going to come on. This show. I'm going to be having Maria West actually on De Occulted. So after I do my next presentation is actually going to be Anarchy. It's going to be on The End of All Evil by Jeremy Locke. So I'm actually already shot it. I need to finish editing it and then get that out there. But then after that, I'm going to be reading F Wide Open. And actually, we're going to do an episode about the book with her on. And so
Nice.
I'm looking forward to that. Like, she is just, it's amazing because, like, it's just like I always brood over the fact that just like, man, like so many beautiful women, if only they were awake, people would listen to them because they'd be drawn to that. But then, someone like Maria is actually living that life. And she's like someone that's broken through that programming. And that shows that it's not, that powerful. Like the human spirit is more powerful if, someone like her, can just be out there, and exist. And even people like Kathy O'Brien, it's just like, the shit that she dealt with and then is able to come out and speak the truth. It's just, if only people would just put the effort in and recognize their strength and their inner like power, like it's like the amount of good, the human race is capable of producing so much evil, and people like to focus on that and dwell on that. But then like on the opposite, more positive side, it's like even Jordan Peterson, who I don't agree with everything that he says, but one of the things he says is like, why don't we stop focusing on how bad everything is and how worse it's going to get, and think about, on the opposite side, we're capable of greatness. Like we could just keep making it better. Like instead of just keep making everything worse, there is like another school of thought that says like, well, why can't we could just keep making things better. We just, we can't leave consciousness at the door. We can't leave objective morality at the door. We can't leave self-care at the door, and it's just, these things are just the key ingredients that the system purposely like leaves out. It's like it's like an equation, and they just minus that out of the equation, and all you're left with is a bag of shit. But then people just think, oh well, that bag of shit is all there is. So like, we need that. It's just like, what would we be without that? Well, something better, something that could keep getting better and better, and we can't even imagine how great things could actually be.
It starts with yourself,
yeah,
because you can want to all your life to kill all the deep state, but if you do that, the very next day there's going to be something else taking their place, because there's no change in the minds and in the consciousness of the aggregate, of the whole planet. So the real deal is to work on yourself first, and then try to radiate, try to bring that to other people, and then create a ripple effect on people working on themselves and projecting good and doing good, and wanting to live in alignment with these principles and natural law. So that's all you can do. You cannot force anyone to do the shadow work. You cannot, but you can start your own shadow work and then work from there.
well said. All right, Don. Well, you have a great night, and we look forward to seeing more of your work, and just keep on going, and get the truth out there and speak your mind. And yeah, man, great stuff.
Thank you, brother.
All right, thank you, man. Talk to you soon.
That's gonna go